Good morning and welcome to the Ventura Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Bonnie Rose. It's great to see you here today. Let us start our celebration service by standing up and singing, I Release and I Let Go. And let us breathe deeply. Settling once again into our seats, our bodies, our breath, our being. As we relax, let go, and listen to the words of our sacred reading.
A reading from Change Me Prayers by Tosha Silver. Divine Beloved, may I feel safe and guided by your love. Take over my body and mind. Show me the way. Guide me always to the right actions at the right time. May I always feel immersed in your love, protected from fear and negativity. Divine Beloved, let me only wish what you wish for me. May I see myself as you see me. Let me know my own divinity in every moment. May I know I am you, and may our desires be one. May the highest that is meant to happen in me and through me. May I be a vehicle for all you wish to occur. Change me into one who can breathe, relax, and rest in your arms. And so it is.
And so it is. So let us breathe deeply once again and rest in the arms of the divine. Rest in the arms of the universe. The divine beloved that is love, that is law, that is that which sets the planets spinning and places every grain of sand on the beach. It is the energy that grows trees and flowers and butterflies. It is the energy that lives and moves through each of us. We call this spirit, we call it love, we call it I am. It goes by many names, but it is one as we are one. And so as we sing together, I am remembering who I am, let us remember this truth about ourselves, our essential oneness with divinity. And as we remember it for ourselves, we offer this remembrance to all beings everywhere, so that they may know the truth as well. We sing together, I am remembering. In the light and the spaciousness of this divine remembrance, let us offer ourselves to what is, opening our eyes as we exhale, in love and in service to what is, as it is, and so it is.
In this moment, I feel the earth move. I feel the breeze smooth across my face. In this moment, I see the butterfly. I taste the sweet wine. I'm satisfied. Satisfied doesn't mean I will never grow. Doesn't mean I will never know anything else. Satisfied satisfied doesn't mean it's the end of my life. Just means that I'm satisfied being here and now with myself. In this moment, nothing is beautiful. Nothing is wonderful. It's just what it is. In this moment, I pause to close my eyes. Whether I live or die, I'm satisfied. Satisfied doesn't mean I will never grow. Doesn't mean I will never know anything else. Satisfied doesn't mean it's the end of my life. Just means that I'm satisfied being here and now with myself. I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied. Ooh, 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 ooh. In this moment, I pause to close my eyes. Whether I live or die, I'm satisfied.
The message this morning is called Enough is Enough. And it's not like I've had it. Enough is enough. I'm mad as you know what, and I'm not going to take it anymore from Network, right? It's not like the disco song by Donna Summer. Enough is enough is enough. You know that one from the sublime to the ridiculous, right? Yeah. It's more like enough. This moment is enough. And enough is sufficient. We don't need more. We don't need to accumulate more. Rather, instead, we could focus in on this moment and find the sufficiency, the all-sufficiency that is right here, right now. Eric Butterworth talks about how in every insufficiency there is an all-sufficiency. Every insufficiency. Is it true? Rhetorical question. I think it's true. But sometimes our smaller self doesn't think that's true. Back, I don't know, 20, 25 years ago, I had this job singing for an opera chorus, and it was a great job, super fun, but we did quite a few operas a year, and sometimes we would get a little behind on our translations because we were singing in different languages, and the chorus would know what we were singing, but sometimes when the lead singers were on the stage, they'd be singing stuff, and the chorus, who was supposed to react to what they're saying, we'd be going, is this a good thing or a bad thing? You can usually tell by the orchestra, but sometimes we wouldn't know. But I bring that up, is this a good thing or a bad thing? It's very much the way our brains work. Our brains are constantly looking, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Is this a sufficient thing or is this an insufficient thing? And because of the way that our brains are made, we are programmed to look for what is wrong in the world so we can fix it. The separate self has a strong belief in what is wrong with the world, what is allegedly wrong with the world. Tosha Silver, in her book, Change Me Prayers, that we're featuring this month, wrote that the separate self is a hungry ghost that always wants more. And she says that you can achieve what everybody thinks they want to achieve, have a beautiful relationship and have a great job and have a great family and have plenty of money, but the separate self is always saying more, 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 more. The separate self is rarely satisfied. One of the ironies that I encountered this week as I was listening to a podcast that somebody over there gave me was this gentleman, I can't remember his name, said that the way to happiness is to stop the search for happiness. And I feel that's the same thing is true about sufficiency. That the way to experience all sufficiency is to stop the search for sufficiency. To move into all sufficiency when it still feels like insufficiency. There is a sufficiency in every insufficiency. And when you look at the word, that's actually true, literally, right? If you just separate that in, put a little space between in and sufficiency, it's I am in sufficiency. I guess the key is, what do we do in that little space? What do we do in that space to turn it from insufficiency, one word, to insufficiency? According to Tosha Silver, a change me prayer can help. I want to do a little demonstration with you to show you what a change me prayer is not and what it is. The first part of this demonstration is for you to turn to somebody sitting near you and say, Divine Beloved, change that person. Everybody, do it. Yeah. Well, you could, her or anybody, yeah. The practitioners down here are asking for specific guidelines. Can I just change this other person? You know? Okay, so you see perhaps that everybody laughed when we did that. Most people, I hope most people laughed, because that's exactly what it isn't. And yet, isn't that what we do most of the time with the people in our lives and with reality itself? Divine Beloved, change this person who is so annoying, right? I'm not looking at anybody specifically. Divine Beloved, change this situation in life that is scaring me, right? The real words are something else. So now go ahead and place your hands over your heart and shut your eyes if you like and feel your heart space and say, Divine Beloved, change me. Change me to be one who lives in all sufficiency. And so it is. And then open your eyes. Did that feel a tad different? Right? Right? Just a tad. I'm going to go all southern today. I can feel it. So, if you catch yourself saying to the world or saying to another person, that person needs to change you, change it, maybe you can remember the laughter that we had here. And instead of attacking yourself for quote unquote doing it wrong, just remember that, oh goodness, God has a sense of humor. God makes us want to rearrange everything out here when the real work is done in here. So what is the real work? Well, again, I think it's what you do in the pause between thoughts, between in and sufficiency. And I just have several stories of related to Change Me prayers that I think we can do to help us stay in that place of the full realization of the all-sufficiency that is always available for us all of the time. The first one happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I went down to the feed store. Yep. You have to realize that I'm from a place called Briarcliff Manor, a suburb of New York. And the feed store was not really part of my vocabulary until I got all of these animals, and now the feed store is one of my favorite places in the world. I love the feed store, and I love the people down there. And one of the great things about this feed store is that they have a bunch of children. They have about 4 or 5 kids. I think they just had a baby, so I think it's 5. And the kids all help in the store, and the kids are homeschooled, and part of their education is to learn about retail and customer service, and it's wonderful. I've complimented the parents on them before. But this other day I was at the feed store, and I had this 10-year-old bring out this big heavy bag of something, guinea pig pellets or something, out to my car, and he put it in, and I thanked him, and then I was reaching for the hatchback on my Prius, wanting to pull it down. I was standing on somewhat uneven ground, so it was a little hard to reach, and I was straining to reach it. And I felt the energy of this 10-year-old just standing over here, and he turned around to see if I was okay. And I felt him want to help me. And I ended up just pulling down the car door, the hatchback, by myself. But just the thought that this 10-year-old was already so tuned in to the needs of others was so beautiful to me. And it was such a simple moment. I mean, how many of us go to the feed store and purchase guinea pig pellets all of the time? Maybe not a good example, but how many of us embark on these simple journeys, these simple errands? And sometimes we overlook the grace in those sacred moments. What I've discovered, one of the reasons that I felt like I was able to see it, is that because of this center and because of all of the work and kindness that we've done together, is that I've been working a lot on my invisible kindness, on my practice of invisible kindness. And I think that when we practice invisible kindness relentlessly, it makes the kindness of others visible. Isn't that weird? Isn't that a paradox? It must be God, right? Because it's kind of weird. It's not something you think every day, is it? God is kind of weird. It's not something you think every day. I'm going to bring them heart pins, or I brought them heart pins yesterday, and I just tried to do it somewhat invisibly. I just put it in a basket and gave it to one of the daughters and said, "This is for your family." But I did write a note because I wanted the parents to know how much I admired them and admired their children. And who knows where that will ripple. So the Change Me prayer there for all of us, that I need it too because I don't always notice things like that, is change me, divine beloved, into someone that can find all sufficiency in simple things. You want to say that with me? You can repeat after me, okay? Change me, divine beloved, into someone who can find all sufficiency in simple things. It's possible, right? With the divine beloved doing this work through you, it's possible our eyes can open and we can see the beauty of life and power and goodness in any moment, at any time, even when things get really challenging. I have a story about a gentleman named Troy Chapman who was imprisoned when he was young. He was imprisoned for second-degree murder, I believe, and he had a 60 to 90 year sentence, has a 60 to 90 year sentence. The judge who sentenced him said that he was unredeemable. And Fran from Iran, right? Remember last week, Fran from Iran, who was here, the Maharinsess of Franistan, which I call her too. If you know your I Love Lucy, you'll know what I'm talking about. She sent me this article about him. And although the judge said that he was unredeemable, he seems to be doing rather well with working on himself. I think back to the thing that I keep saying about Gandhi's wife, Kasturba Gandhi, where she was imprisoned, and they said, how do you feel about being in prison? And she said, there is no prison. Imprisonment is a state of mind. And this gentleman, Troy Chapman, seems to feel the same way. He seems to have the same attitude because he has studied and he has worked and he has learned to deal with grace and equanimity with all things that come up. He talked about in this article a situation where he was feeling insufficient and unsafe. There was a gentleman, a fellow inmate, walking towards him, and this guy was new in town, new in the prison, and he was sort of puffing up and trying to edge Troy off of the sidewalk. Troy Chapman said that that's a thing that happens. It's sort of a power domination struggle that happens a lot in prisons, that people are always often positioning for places of power. And Troy said that he had two options, that he could either confront this guy and get aggressive with him, or he could cower and step off of the sidewalk and let the guy pass. But instead of that, he found a third solution. He held the space. He didn't want to do either of those two options, and he held the space for possibility. Is it possible that he knew that there was even an all-sufficiency in that moment where he felt threatened, where he felt like there wasn't a solution, but in the infinite all-sufficiency, there was a different way of being with this situation? And so the gentleman came towards him and glared at him and wanted to edge him off the sidewalk, and Troy stepped off the sidewalk, but as he did, he touched this guy's arm, and he said, "So how's it going for you?" And he said that the utter look of confusion in this inmate's eyes was just amazing. Because he had just said in so many words, "I have no need of an enemy in you." Are there things in our lives where we are feeling a sense of against or enemy? Is there something where we feel like there is no solution? And can we do a change me prayer about that? Divine Beloved, please change me into someone who frees myself and others from the illusion of imprisonment. Let's do that. Divine Beloved, please change me into someone who frees myself and others from the illusion of imprisonment. And that's a powerful prayer to remember, to notice where we are feeling imprisoned. It can be through the attitude of another. It can be through a job. It can be through a relationship. It can be through the conditions in the world. We can feel imprisoned and let down and held down. But there's a better way. There is an all-sufficiency in that perception of insufficiency that is waiting for our invitation to come out. Another story. This is a story about financial insufficiency. And it was brought to me by one of our class members, who may or may not be named Jan. But she told me that during the course of this class that I just taught on Change Me prayers and whatnot, that she told me this privately and gave me permission to share it. She said that in the midst of this class, her furnace broke and it was going to cost $500. She didn't really want to spend $500 on her furnace. Anybody really want to spend $500? No. You'd rather spend it on something super fun, right? I would. So she had somebody come out, they gave her the bid for $500, and then they tried to fix it, but they didn't fix it. And then they didn't fix it some more, and then they didn't fix it some more, and she was still getting billed for $500. She had another contractor come out who gave her a lower bid and fixed it. And yet, with the first contractor, who was still billing her for the $500, she decided to respond from a place of grace and all-sufficiency. Instead of acting like somebody from Frankenstein's mob in the Frankenstein movies, waving pitchforks and brooms and burning brooms and storming the contractor's office. I have a vivid imagination, I can't help it. That's what I would have done. I mean, she offered it to the divine, and the divine love guided her to write a letter. And the letter said something like, it was just the facts, just the facts. This is what happened. You made a bid for $500. You weren't able to fix the furnace for $500. You continue to bill me for the $500. How much do you think I should pay for a furnace that you didn't fix? Very kindly, just a simple question. And the furnace people wrote her back and said, we are so sorry. We're not gonna bill you for that anymore. We're gonna make your balance go back down to zero. She didn't have to engage the enemy because there was no enemy. She didn't have to get in a big fight. She just had to move into that place of grace and all-sufficiency and trust that there was a better way. A way that was a win-win for everyone, because the furnace people won by doing that too, by the way. They got to look at themselves. They got to look at themselves and look at their business practices so that they could apply them for the next time, perhaps. You know, anytime we set a boundary, we often think of a boundary as a criticism, but it's usually a compliment. If it's a sincere boundary, it's usually a compliment. And as it said in this article by Troy Chapman that I read, a boundary that is a compliment, that is set from a place of sincerity, it opens us up to greater possibilities, but the reconciliation has to take place within us. We have to set the boundary with grace and with equanimity and without the need for a fight. So in terms of the furnace story, what is the change me prayer there? Divine Beloved, change me into someone that can respond with equanimity to all of life's challenges. After me, Divine Beloved, change me into someone who can respond with equanimity in all of life's challenges. Can you see how much fun the world would be if we all were really doing this? Can you commit to yourselves now to engage at least one of these practices? You don't have to do it all, or maybe you've thought up something better that's more personal to your own life, but just to engage these practices and see how your life opens and blooms, and how as we do these practices, as we do these change me prayers, as we open up to the grace that is, our lives are completely sufficient. We are immersed in the sea of all-sufficiency, no matter what is going on. There is an all that is available for us right now. And the last thing I want to say is that it's never too late. Never too late. At the end of Tosha Silver's book, It's Not Your Money, she tells a story about a woman who was on her deathbed. And this woman had been extremely successful in her life. Perhaps she had one of those hungry ghosts that was following her around and saying more, 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 because she was a costume designer and she had won Golden Globes and she had a beautiful home and she had a great family. But as she lay on her deathbed, she started to think about her life, because people often become more lucid at those times and reflective. And she started thinking and saying out loud, you know, I have all of this stuff, I have all of these wonderful things, I've had all of these great experiences, but I wish I had spent more time asking the divine what the divine wants to do through me. Asking love what love wants and serving that. And her children were gathered around her bed. And her son said, you know what, Mom? It's not too late. And she got a beautiful smile on her face and gazed around the room in silence. And very soon, she closed her eyes and passed away. And as Tosha Silver says in her book, who knows what an impact that might have had on everything. Let us have the same type of commitment and impact on everything as we turn within and allow ourselves to be changed through prayer. Divine Beloved, we offer these words to you. We offer this service to you in knowing that there is power and presence and such goodness growing in each of us. Just as the sun and the rain and nature and the wind and the ocean and the moon and all of the planets conspire to create this beautiful universe, we have a universe that is within us, conspiring to create love and beauty and peace and harmony. And so we surrender to that universe within us right now, and we call it good, and we trust that it is the all-sufficiency of you, Divine Beloved, expressing and revealing itself in every moment of our lives. It is always there. We ask to have the eyes to see it. We ask to be able to see the Divine Beloved, the all-sufficiency in all of the simple moments of our lives. We ask to be able to free the Divine Beloved, the all-sufficiency in the places where we feel imprisoned or pressed down. We ask for the ability to be the all-sufficiency we long to be, to respond to life with grace and equanimity, even in the face of challenges. We know that all of this is possible because love is possible, and love is the most powerful thing in the world. We know also that as we do this work on ourselves, as we are moving within, we are not saying, change you, change that, change it. We are saying, change me into someone who knows the truth. And as we know the truth for ourselves, it begins to ripple out, and others know the truth. And the world becomes deeper and sweeter because of our love and our spiritual work. And so I am just so grateful for this powerful path, so grateful for this teaching and all of the variations on this theme, so grateful for our transformation, so grateful for this beautiful community, so grateful for the divine working through us always in mystical and wonderful ways. I bless the spiritual center as I bless all paths to God, churches, synagogues, temples, mosques, ashrams, fundamentalists, atheists, agnostics, everyone. And with a heart that is so filled with blessedness and so filled with the divine, I say, thank you, Spirit, thank you, love, and I release these words into the divine mystery. I offer them to love. And together we say, and so it is. I am so blessed. I am so blessed.
I think I might explain just a little bit that this song I'm just dedicating to Bob Dylan. Great lyricist, intuitive mind, because he wrote this one. In the time of my confession, in the hour of my deepest need, when the pool of tears beneath my feet floods every newborn seed, there's a dying voice within me, reaching out somewhere, toiling in the danger and the morals of despair. Don't have an inclination to look back on any mistake. Like Cain, I now behold this chain of events that I must break. in the fury of this moment, I can see the Master's hand in every leaf that trembles, in every grain of sand. Oh, the flowers of indulgence and the weeds of yesteryear, like criminals, they've choked the breath of conscience and good cheer. The sun beat down upon the steps of time to light the way, to ease the pain of idleness and the memory of decay. I gaze into the doorway of temptation's angry flame, and every time I pass that way, I always hear my name. Then onward in my journey, I come to understand that every hair is numbered, like every grain of sand. I've gone from rags to riches in the sorrow of the night, in the violence of a summer's dream, in the chill of a wintry night, in the bitterness, the bitter dance of loneliness, fading into space, in the broken mirror of innocence, on each forgotten face, I hear the ancient footsteps like the motion of the sea. Sometimes I turn, there's no one there. Other times it's only me. I'm hanging in the balance of the reality of man, in every sparrow falling, in every grain of sand. In the balance of the reality of man, like every sparrow falling, like every grain of sand. Every grain of sand. Thank you, Bob Dylan.